Well, good morning and welcome to this event. Let me first of all say that I'm absolutely delighted to see so many people here today. What I would also say is that you should be delighted that this is my speech. Although it's just bullet points, so who knows how long this could go for. I think Vicky has already given the most comprehensive set of thank yous I think I've ever seen in any event. But it maybe highlights the extent to which the community generally within the university has engaged with this initiative. And for that, personally, I'm very grateful. In terms of the work to underpin that, but also today's event, Vicky has done a huge amount of work to make this a success, and I think we should recognise that. So let's give Vicky a round of applause. And of course, all Vicky's colleagues and leads have contributed to the event as well, but also our speakers today and the teams that sit behind the speakers, and I think that was evidenced by the list that Vicky put up earlier. I'd also specifically like to thank Sheila McNeil for being our keynote today. We are in a learning process. When we started on this initiative, the level of institutional readiness, and I'm very aware that using words like this could get me into trouble with Dennis in the corner there, but the level of institutional readiness was pretty poor actually. And I was aware of that, and I was aware that it was going to create a lot of challenges, and people in this room have experienced the pain of that as we've gone through this process, and I'll maybe say a bit more of that in a moment or two. So I think we've got a great program today. It's a great opportunity to hear about the experiences not only from outside of the institution but also inside the institution as well, and to use that, as I say, as a learning experience. This really, the whole BOLD initiative kicked off just over 3 years ago, and we were fortunate that it meshed quite nicely with the QAA enhancement theme as well, and Vicky commented on the fact that this is an event which is effectively co-sponsored by the QAA enhancement theme, and we're grateful to QAA for the support that they provide for our institutional work. But the BOLD project began really as a realization that some of the commitments within the learning and teaching strategy were nice to have on paper, but we weren't actually really doing anything to deliver those. And that was where BOLD had its origins. And there were two things within the learning and teaching strategy we specifically wanted to pick out with BOLD. One was a commitment to develop a portfolio of online programs, distance programs, because when you looked at the University of Glasgow and compared it to our peer group, and our peer group could be, for example, the Russell Group in the UK, but it could equally be universities in the top 100 in the world. When we looked across that group, it was quite clear that the one thing that was really an Achilles heel for us was that we had almost no online distance provision. And there are implications of that, both in terms of the future sustainability of the university, but also in terms of our reach. Because quite often distance learners are people who are holding down jobs, who can't give up the time to come and study in a university, but are individuals that really can make a contribution to the totality of university life. So we identified that from the strategy as one of the key things that we had to build, was that capability. The other thing we had committed to was evolving our approach in the classroom to develop more blended learning as part of the offering at Glasgow. And one of the things that this links to, and I think at the end of the day, I think Moira might say more about this in terms of future directions, is all of the thinking that we're doing around the future shape of the estate, the way that we deliver teaching in the future. We saw the activity here as an enabler, so we conceived of a project and we went to the senior management group with a pitch for them to release roughly about £2.4 million to allow us to fund the BOLD initiative. Now, years ago, when I was a relatively junior academic, I witnessed one of the academics in my department, as it was at that time, coming to the head of department and asking for some cash to do something. And this particular member of staff had obviously got it in his head that this was going to be a really difficult conversation. So he sat down in front of the head of department, and he said to the head of department, "Here's my pitch." And the head of department said, "Yeah, that's fine, you've got the money," right? But this guy, because he was so geared up for a big discussion, didn't stop, right? So he just kept going, he kept making the pitch, and the head of department's going, "No, you've got the cash." Now, it might surprise you to know that it is not easy to get money for big initiatives from the senior management group. And on the day that I went in to pitch this, I thought, this is going to be tough. And we just had a really intense discussion about something else before we got to this. And we had decided that we were not doing this other thing. And I thought, this is not going well today, this is not going to be good. So I introduced the paper and said 2.32 or 2.4 million pounds, and everybody just said yes. And I felt so cheated. Because I had rehearsed all my arguments as to why we should be doing this. But that maybe tells you something about the case itself, about the fact that we did have a significant weakness in this organisation. The one point I did make to my senior management group colleagues on that day was that I didn't think we were ready as an institution to really to do this at scale, and that we had to treat these 3 years, these 4 years as a learning process. And you've really been at the heart of that learning process, and you've had to deal with the pain of that learning process for those that actually led individual projects and were involved in them. And for that, as I said earlier, I'm very grateful, because we are now as an institution getting to a stage where we recognise we've sorted a lot of problems, we recognise the ones that still remain, and we are addressing them. And it's going to put us in a much stronger position in the future. The other thing I would just highlight quite briefly is that it's one of the best acronyms ever in this university. Most acronyms are pretty rubbish, but I thought BOLD was quite good. Yeah. But I guess the thing I'd like to leave you with is that we're on a journey here. This is part of a sort of future direction for the university. It is linked, as I said, and Moira will maybe say more about this later, to all of our thinking around the estate, to all of the way we're thinking about the physical spaces on campus, to all of the way we're thinking about the breadth of the portfolio of the university in the future. It also allows us to retain our position and indeed enhance our position as one of the world's top 100 universities. So it very much is part of the core mainstream of the university and its future direction. So with that, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to say one more thing, which is use the day and get as much out of it as you possibly can. There's a lot of experience in this room. There's a lot of different perspectives within this room. Use the time well, use the coffee breaks well, nab people and ask them about their experience, nab people and ask them about the challenges that they've faced and what they think the blockers are, because I'm certainly going to do that just to make sure we haven't missed anything. But other than that, just have a great time and do learn from this. So thank you very much.